Hey everybody, Cliff Ravenscraft here with podcastanswerman.com and gspn.tv, and I just got around to thinking I haven't done a video blog update in a very long time. I don't even remember the last video blog update that I've done. So here it is, a blog update for gspn.tv community blog. It is Saturday, July 30th, 2011, and I'm sitting here in my studio, which by the way is completely redesigned. I just finished changing everything about the GSPN studio. We recently had a meetup just probably about a month or so ago with the GSPN community, and I was so embarrassed by the look of my studio when everybody came in, because you could hardly move. I had gotten some new lighting for the studio, had gotten some new furniture the last time I did a studio redesign, and the furniture is way too big, and it looked great in the store, but when I brought it all in, it just didn't work out. I made do for the longest time, but finally decided, you know what, this is just not the work environment that I want. So it was about 2.5 weeks ago, I started a brand new redesign of the entire studio. Stephanie and I went out to IKEA and bought some new furniture, at least one new desk, and had decided, hey, I'm going to really transform the entire space that I have in here. And if you're interested in seeing the new studio as it's laid out, I have a video where I give you the entire tour of everything behind the scenes here. It's at podcastanswerman.com/new studio. So if you want to check it out, you can. So yeah, I'm in my new studio. It is so much more relaxed, and I'm very happy to have the studio set up the way it is now. And I think that as a result of the way the studio is set up, we're going to be seeing some more interesting things come out of gspn.tv, just because I feel like I'm in much more of a creative mode, which gets me into thinking a lot about gspn.tv, where we are as a network, and how things have kind of transpired over the years. I remember everything back in the Lost days, and then all of a sudden making the decision going into podcasting full time as my career, and even if you go back to some earlier video blog updates, I just remember how much has changed just by looking at some of those. Sometimes I get a little nostalgic, and I'll head over to youtube.com/CliffEOTC. Will take you over to my old YouTube channel, and just videos where my face is just so thick and everything before I lost a lot of weight, and just I remember how I worked around the clock with no margin, and I admittedly work a lot. There's no question about that. I still work a lot, but it's because I love what I do that I work. But back then it was because I felt this constant pressure that I had to find some way to pay the bills, and that's why I worked around the clock. And I'm still, concerned. There's plenty of things to be concerned about, but things are really good compared to where they were back in 2008. It's unbelievable. In a way, I never would have dreamed it'd be possible that we'd be in the place where we are today, financially, in running this business. But at the same time, there's pressure to say, you know what, I'm not getting any younger, and retirement is not getting any further away, and kids are not getting any younger, and they seem to be getting closer to that time when they want to go to college and stuff like that. So, there's still so much pressure all the time to think and worry about the future. But oftentimes I'm reminded just to say, hey, worrying doesn't do anything. We just need to be creative. We need to think about our priorities. I need to focus on the things that I need to focus on, and just trust that God's going to lead me down the right paths, and I'll make some wise decisions along the way, and things are going to work out. And that's got me to where I am today, and I'm in a good place. I really am in a good place, and feeling good about that. A couple things about the gspn.tv content. Some things are getting ready to be shaken up a little bit. You may have noticed we've switched the live show Thursday schedule around a little bit. Basically, moving family from the heart to 10:30 in the morning instead of in the afternoon. That's the biggest change so far. We still have our main shows, which is Social Media Serenity. We still have, let's see here, Family from the Heart. We have Business Tech Weekly. Those shows are going pretty solid. Help I Got a Mac is not live on Thursdays, but we're still doing that on a weekly basis with Chris, as long as I'm able to make sure my schedule doesn't conflict with his, and we can get together on a weekly basis. We've been doing pretty well at trying to keep that up. What other shows are going on there? Balanced Living Weekly with Father Roderick. Stephanie and I are currently doing an entertainment-based podcast called The Hunger Games. If you haven't checked out The Hunger Games, do us a favor. Please go over to hungergamespodcast.com. You can read the description at the top of the page there, and then I encourage you to check out from episode 1, going all the way back, and enjoying this amazing story with Stephanie and I. It's so much fun, and really enjoying that book. And it's a series of 3 books. Go check it out, hungergamespodcast.com. And so things are going extremely well. If you haven't been to gspncommunity.com, this is another big area that we have focused on, and that is creating an online experience or an environment where people who listen to our shows, who are just as passionate about Hunger Games as other people listening to the podcast, or just as passionate about social media as other people listening to Social Media Serenity, or people who are just as passionate about the Mac and Apple platform as other people who listen to Help I Got a Mac. And the cool thing is you can go and sign up at gspncommunity.com and join those discussion groups that are there, and really build wonderful relationships with people who are like-minded, and that's really cool. And of course, we have a general discussion forum there where people can talk just about anything, and it's really exciting to see, people coming together from the community. Now, I wanted to also mention GSPN Plus membership. We don't mention this nearly as much as we used to. Back in January of this year, 2011, I made the decision to no longer require people to pay for access to all of our content. Plus membership was this thing where you would pay $10 a month and you'd get access to every episode of every podcast that we produce here at gspn.tv, which is still today somewhere between 7 to 15 podcast episodes a week. And and before we went to the model that we have now, it would be that if you were not a Plus member and you found us in iTunes, for example, for Help I Got a Mac or Social Media Serenity or Business Tech Weekly or whatever the podcast might be, you'd get 1 episode every month for free. No big deal. But if you wanted to have access to every episode of that podcast and all the others, it was $10 a month. And so in January, I made the decision, you know what, I don't want to require people to pay anymore. I'll leave it up to them whether or not they want to contribute and become a Plus member to help support the content and community of gspn.tv. And we're going to give every episode of every podcast away for free to the entire world. It doesn't matter who you are, you get it all for free. And I think that was a great decision. I still feel today that it was a wonderful decision. And what we did is we said, if you really enjoy what we're doing here, if you want to support this content, you want to support this community, then we just simply invite you to make a contribution. You can make a one-time contribution of any amount, and you are a Plus member for life. Or if you'd like, and what we recommend is a $10 a month contribution is recommended. You can make more if you want, but you could even do a $3 a month contribution. So, I mean, it's something that we opened it up and says, hey, if you feel like what we're doing here is really making a difference, providing entertaining content, educational content, encouraging and inspirational content, if you feel like we're pulling that off and you want to help support us in the effort of spending as much time as we do focused on creating this content, and not only that, but fostering a sense of online community where people can come together and get plugged into encouraging and inspirational relationships with one another, then we would invite you to contribute freely of your own free will, cheerfully, and not by being compelled to do so otherwise, and not guilted into it or anything of that nature. So we made that switch, and I was very excited because I looked at the amount of monthly subscriptions, and for the first 2 or 3 months after that, we actually were bringing in more money as a result of that change than we were before. So we saw quite as soon as people realized that, hey, I don't have to pay to get every single episode anymore. We saw some people drop off. The monthly $10 donations would subscriptions would drop off, and that was to be expected. And then, of course, we saw a lot of one-time contributions come in that far offset that. And so for the first few months, we actually were making more money from the content and community aspect of GSPN through Plus membership than we were when we were charging. Now, just to give you an update today, however, we're now 7 months into this, and we're probably bringing in, well, actually, I can tell you exactly. Right now, as of July, we're bringing in $340 a month less than what we were before we were charging for it. So obviously things are much lower. Now, of course, it is the summertime, and we had even seen in the previous years that during the summer we saw a little bit of a slump in even subscriptions back then. So that's not too concerning. The other thing is that I don't feel like we've done enough here on our part to really let people know that this is something that is available. I know we bring it up occasionally on a podcast, but really need to think about how we communicate to people, how we're able to create the content that we are and spend the time on the content, which gets me to thinking about some things here. I can't give you any specifics right now, but I want to let you know that Stephanie is talking with somebody that a lot of people will be very excited to hear that she's talking to about the launch of a new podcast. All right. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I probably shouldn't have told you that much. But a brand new podcast potentially launching this fall with Stephanie and a co-host for her show. And it's going to be somebody a lot of people in the community know, and when they hear about this show, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. So that is potentially coming back. I have totally dropped the ball because of just how busy I've been with working with Tracy Trost, who happens to be an independent film director. And he and I touched base, got to introduce to one another probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and really hit it off right off the bat. And I was so excited, so pumped up about just the conversations that I had with him, that he and I decided, hey, let's do a podcast together on a weekly basis, and we'll throw it on the live show schedule and all of this stuff. And I was so excited about it before I went on vacation, and when I got back from vacation with the family, and things have been so busy, and I just have not had a chance to get caught up with all of those things. And so I'm hoping that he's still interested in doing it, and it's going to be called Life, Love, and the Movies. And I'm still a little bit up in the air about about what this show is going to focus on. I mean, we've had some planning sessions, and I believe that there's some valuable content that will be brought to the table with Tracy and this podcast. But I'm just wondering if the whole movies angle of it, the name of the movies would people would think it's going to be a whole lot more movie related than what I think we're planning. But we wanted to keep the movie angle in it because Tracy's independent movie director, and I don't know. I think we're going to pull this off. I'm hoping that like I said, I told him 2 weeks ago. I said, hey Tracy, I'm going to get with you next week. I hope you don't mind. Things have been so busy, and of course that would have been this past week, and I still hadn't got back with him. So after I finish recording this video blog update, I think I need to shoot him an email and say, hey, I'm ready to put this on the schedule if you're ready, and if you haven't, kind of gotten cold feet on the idea. So we've got some exciting things happening, I think, with the GSPN content. And I think it's almost time for a listener survey, to find out, what content is making a difference for people. If, we've got some shows that we've been doing for, most of our shows now are over 100 episodes. Some of our shows are approaching the 200 episode mark, and just want to make sure that, maybe, is it time to kind of, phase a show out and let another show kind of fill its spot as far as our time and energy is concerned, and things of that nature. So I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to get behind the camera here and just say, guys, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all the things that you guys have done to support the content of GSPN.TV, the community, for being a part and joining the community. It is a blessing to interact with you. If we're not doing so already, let's connect on Twitter, twitter.com/GSPN. If you're not a Twitter user, I am on Facebook at facebook.com/CliffRavenscraft. And again, if you haven't done so already, please go over to gspncommunity.com and get registered today. Anyway, I'll be back soon with some more video blog updates, potentially, as I feel free to share some further information about some other announcements that we got in the works. So thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully this wasn't too long. If you have any comments or questions regarding this video blog update, please put them in the comment section below. God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.